Okay, today we're doing math page 181 and 182. 1 Peter 4:8 says, "And above all things have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins." And above all things have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. And right away we'll look at our class practice 1A. It's telling us to change these mixed numbers to improper fractions. Usually we're making things proper. And today we're changing these to improper fractions because in a few lessons here you're going to start needing to make them improper in order to do other math problems. So hopefully you understand how we do this. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a long line here like this and equals something here. I'll put a fraction bar right there. And so you're going to go 1 times 7 plus 3. So I'm going the whole number times the denominator, 1 times 7. I'll even write it right here. 1 times 7. I want you to write that too. Plus the top number, plus 3. 1 times 7 is 7, plus 3 more is 10. And put a 7 here and then a 7 here. And we've turned it into an improper fraction of 10 over 7. 10 sevenths. Okay, B, we'll draw it out the same way, a long line, equal sign, and then a fraction. We'll go 1 times 9 plus 4. We do 1 times the bottom number. So 1 times 9, and then plus whatever's on top, 4. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 4 more would be 13. And then the 9 we just move over. 13 ninths. C, same thing, a long line, an equal sign, and then a fraction bar. 1 times 11 plus 3. 1 times 11 would be 11, plus 3 more would be 14. 11 will be our denominator, and we get 14 elevenths. 14 elevenths. D. 1 times the bottom number, 12, plus the top number, 5. 1 times 12 is 12, plus 5 more would be 17. And then the denominator of 12 gets brought over. E would be the 1 times the denominator, 1 times 10, plus your numerator of 9. 1 times 10 is 10, plus 9 more would be 19. And then the 10 just gets brought over. And we get 19 over 10. F. We've got to do 1 times 8 plus our numerator, which is 7. We get 1 times 8 plus 7. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 7 more, we get 15 for our numerator, and then the 8 comes across as our denominator, and we get 15 eighths. So today you learned how to change your mixed numbers into improper fractions. Now let's go ahead and do some of these subtraction problems in number 2. Remember, to add or subtract fractions, we must have common denominators. And right now we don't. 8 and 4, they're not the same. But we need to ask ourselves, what does 8 and 4 both go into? They both go into 8. So I'll put 9 and something over 8, and 3 and something over 8. Okay, 8 times what is 8? 8 times 1. So we'll do 1 times 1. That's 1. 4 times what is 8? 4 times 2 is 8. So we do 3 times 2, 6. Okay, now we've made it so we have common denominators, but now we have to borrow. We'll borrow from the 9. That leaves us with 8. The 1 we borrowed, we're going to make it into an 8 over 8, and we'll add it to our 1 over 8. So we now have 8 and 9 eighths minus 3 and 6 eighths. 9 minus 6 will give us 3 eighths. 8 minus 3 will give us 5. So our answer is 5 and 3 eighths. B. Same problem, where 5 and 10, they're not the same. And to add or subtract fractions, we must have common denominators. What does 5 and 10 both go into? They both go into 10. Five times what is 10? 5 times 2. So we multiply the top number by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 10 times what is 10? 10 times 1. So we just bring the 3 over. We multiply 3 times 1, which is 3. Now we're ready to do the problem. We have to borrow from the 8. That gives us a 7. We've borrowed 1, so we're going to add 1 to 2 tenths. We're going to change the 1 into 10 over 10, which is the same as 1. Add it to 2 tenths, and now we have 7 and 12 tenths. Minus 7 and 3 tenths. 12 minus 3 is 9 over 10. 7 minus 7 is nothing, so we just circle our 9 tenths. C. We have a 2 and a 4. That is not common denominators, but what does 2 and 4 both go into? They both go into 4. So we'll make 4 as our denominators. Okay. 2 times what equals that 4? 2 times 2. So we need to do 1 times 2. That gives us 2. 4 times what is 4? 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, now we have to borrow. We're going to borrow from the 13 and make it a 12. We borrowed 1, so we'll make that in the form of 4 over 4 and add it to our 2 over 4. So now we have 12 and 6 over 4 minus 6 and 4 over 4. Oh, I realized I made a mistake earlier. You might have caught it already, but it's supposed to be 6 and 1 over 4. What's interesting is I didn't need to borrow here, and you might have caught this, and I'll show you what's going to happen now because of my mistake. 6 minus 1 is 5 over 4. 12 minus 6 is 6. So we have an improper fraction, and in our answers we never want improper fractions. Sometimes we'll use improper fractions for things, but we don't want it for our answer. So 4 goes into 5 one time, so we'll add that 1 to the 6. So now we have 7 and 1/4 for an answer. Okay, I'm going to have you do the rest on your own. I think it's going to be pretty easy stuff. To help you finish it, I want you to know that penguins are cute. And something that's interesting is, you might think to yourself, where do penguins live? But what people don't realize is that there are no penguins at the North Pole. In fact, there's no penguins even in the northern hemisphere. If you were to divide the Earth in half by the equator, there's no penguins north of the equator. And there's 17 different varieties of penguins, and they're all found below the equator, mostly in Antarctica, at the South Pole. Kind of crazy. You want to talk about turkeys? I look at turkeys, I think they're kind of a scary looking bird, but I got a little multiple choice question for you. More turkeys are raised in blank than any other state. So it's either going to be Texas, Florida, California, or Montana. I want to see if you can guess which state has more turkeys raised. Go ahead and quietly stand up and dance like a turkey if you think it's Texas. Okay, and sit down. Go ahead and stand up and dance like a turkey if you think it's Florida. Okay, sit down. Go ahead and stand up and dance like a turkey if you think it's California. And sit down, and then go ahead and stand up and dance like a turkey if you think it's Montana. Okay, the correct answer is not Montana. It's not Florida. The correct answer is California. More turkeys than any other state are raised in California. And a robin has 3,000 feathers. And it might take more than 2 days for a chick to break out of its shell. And there's one chicken for every human being in the world. So about the same amount of chickens in the world as there are human beings. And talking parrots? Parrots are the most famous of all the talking birds. They don't usually know more than 20 words. Okay, hopefully that helps you. Go ahead and do the rest on your own. You guys are so smart.